I like San Francisco better.
I don't know if I'd like anywhere in California right now.
Valid point.
Okay.
All right. So I'm told we're up and running. I'm going to go ahead and call to order the meeting of the Paxton Select Board. Today is Monday, January 13th, 2025. The time is presently 7:09 by the clock on the wall, 7:07 by the clock on my computer. We are here in the training room at the Public Safety Complex. I'm going to start the meeting with the consent items as per usual. There are 7. As with each time we do this, I will read them off. If there are any items which garner any objections from any members of the Select Board, we'll move those items later on in the agenda to be discussed. So, number 1 is to approve the meeting minutes from the regular meeting held on December 9th, 2024. Number 2 is to approve the meeting minutes from the regular meeting held on December 13th, 2024. Number 3 is to submit notice to the Town Clerk to place open water board and planning board positions for a 1-year term on the ballot for the next election. Number 4 is to appoint Richard Bedard to the Council on Aging with a term ending June 30th, 2026. Number 5 is to appoint Carol Coleman to the Council on Aging with a term ending June 30th, 2026. Number 6 is to vote to increase the mileage rate for 2025 to 70 cents per mile based on the IRS standard mileage rate, which is up 3 cents from 2024. And number 7 is to set the town caucus date for March 3rd, 2025 at 7 p.m. at Paxton Center School with a snow date of March 6th, 7 p.m. at Paxton Center School. Are there any objections to any of the consent items?
Julia, can you take the December 13th minutes out because I wasn't at that meeting?
Sure can. Yep. So we'll vote those separately.
Thank you.
Kirk, any objections? All right, so I will declare that numbers 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 have been approved. Number 2 will vote separately now, only because Carol will need to abstain from that vote. So, Kirk, would you make a motion?
To approve
Yeah.
the meeting minutes of the regular meeting held on December 13th, 2024.
Great. I will second that. All in favor, Kirk?
Aye.
And I'll vote aye. So those are separately voted. All right, so under new business, we have to review and appoint a candidate to fill the open position on the Wachusett Regional School District School Committee until the next town election in May of 2025. We have 2 candidates, Jeremy Richards and Anne-Marie Stoika. Anne-Marie is here, and Jeremy is here. So we have both of them here with us. Do you want to both come up? Since we have both of you, you can sit right here, and we'll get you a microphone.
I have one, I'll drop. Huh?
I think we're okay. Thank you. Thank you for humoring me.
You're welcome.
So I want to emphasize that this is a interim appointment. It's only for a period of roughly 5 months, not even 5 months, until the town election. So whoever fills this role would need to then run for the election. And the other candidate would certainly be more than welcome to also run.
Julia,
Yeah.
did Scott Runston not want to participate?
Yeah, I don't know. Where's Scott? Does he?
I think the school committee's having a meeting right now, aren't they?
Are they? Mm-hmm. That could be. Yep.
Was he aware?
Is Scott aware that we were doing this?
Randy.
You spoke with Randy. Okay.
Randy is aware that as we go
I have a
back and forth on the voting process, and gave that applications for both of them
Okay,
so they're aware that they're being put forward.
okay. Kirk, what's your question?
At the time that the meeting was posted and downloaded, Jeremy Richards was the only one on the agenda as an appointment. So I did get an update, I guess, today, this morning.
Yep.
But is that following protocol? Do they have to be listed with the listing of the agenda item?
So I think the agenda was updated. The idea is that the agenda and the substance of the agenda needs to be posted 72 hours or 48 hours, sorry, in advance of the meeting, but modifications can be made to the agenda up until a meeting time. And Heather, I saw this came through, it was just this morning, right? Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
But there's no concern about our ability to appoint Anne Marie based on the posting.
I mean, it's the select board's appointment, so as long as the select board feels they have enough information to make the appointment, I think Donna reached out to both candidates to let them know of the change this morning, or
Yeah.
sometime today, so everyone was aware. So it's up
Yeah.
to the select board ultimately.
Okay.
I understand that, but there's a question more about protocol for posting and what needs to be, I guess the white lines that need to be stated once something's posted.
I'm sorry, Kirk, I didn't catch the first part of the question.
So I guess it's more procedural than anything, but this was posted and somebody had any objections or whatever, they would have had the 48 hours to show up or do whatever to make comment. And then the change at the, on the same day, I just want to make sure that's within the guidelines of what's apropos, I guess.
Well, I think the recommendation is usually if you feel like an issue comes up that's added to the agenda later on, you feel like it's going to be contentious. I mean, the select board can always discuss everything. Both candidates are here, do any interviews, and then you could always wait to the next select board meeting and post that you're going to make a decision at that time. And that might alleviate your concerns. That way, if anyone does have any concern, or, Scott's at a meeting, didn't realize there are multiple candidates, he has an opportunity to watch the video and weigh in.
I think that would be my suggestion. We have both candidates here, so that's fantastic. I don't want to have any of their time be wasted by showing up and then not being able to at least move this forward to some extent. And then we'll move forward from there. The other thing is, I'd like to give Scott the opportunity to attend if he, and provide comment if he'd like to, being the sitting member of the school committee. Typically, when we do these appointments, these interim appointments, the board, the sitting elected board, is usually also a participant. So it does make sense to have Scott provide his input. Does anybody know what business the school committee might be undertaking between now and 2 weeks from now when our next scheduled meeting would be? Do you know, Anne Marie?
I think the next meeting has been canceled.
Okay. All right. So we probably have time then.
That's what the website says.
Yep. Okay. So that's good to know. I just want to make sure that we're not, holding anything up where we would like to have another person at the school committee meeting and, in the interim. So, all right. So given Kirk's concerns, I'm going to suggest that we go ahead and plan to make our decision at the next select board meeting. But while we have both candidates here, we certainly can ask any questions that we might have. So, Kirk, why don't I open the floor to you, and you can go ahead and ask any questions you might have of the candidates.
Thank you. I'd like to know why each of you would make the decision to run for an interim position.
First,
Sure.
thank you for that question. I recently retired after I worked for 20 years, in public school, human resources administration. And I've always thought, my husband and I have lived in the town for over 45 years, and one of the reasons we came to Paxton back then was because of the reputation of the school district. And so now that I'm retired and have these skills and experiences that I've built up over this time, I would love to provide that service to our community that we've grown to love, over the years. And so when Mr. Ottmer, left, I said, oh, well, there we go. There's an opportunity perhaps to show some service to the community in advance.
Thank you. From my point of view, Kirk, there's two main reasons for me. I've had one or both of my children in the Wachusett district for the last 13 years. My oldest son recently just graduated, and I've got another son at the high school now. So over the last 13 years, I've had a pretty wide view of what works from kindergarten through graduation. Wachusett district has done a lot of good things. They do a lot of good things. I've seen, success from my kids, but there's a lot of things I think that are lacking in the district. I think that there could, there's things that I see that are room for improvement. When I talk to people in the town, this is kind of the flip side of it. We look at it as the town of Paxton. Almost half of our budget per year goes to the Wachusett School District. So whether you have children involved in the school or not, the responsibility for fiscally is there. We continue to see, I sat here last year and heard the superintendent say, quote, he wishes there was more in it for the kids. Wishes he could do more for the kids in that budget. Every year when the budget time rolls around, we see an increasing number, and it's putting a strain on not just Paxton, but it puts a strain on all the member towns, to the point where, the Select Board and the Finance Committee this year have asked the school district to maintain, 2.5% increase or below. I think that's another thing where I would like to get involved, see where the, school committee is at. This is a great time. Their budget season is coming up. People are asking the question, what are we doing with all this funding? And where is it going? We know that we've got so many, our enrollment in the district in Paxton is down. Per student spending has not increased, yet we're going to see potentially a 4 or 5% increase. So just something to look at. It affects us all. So those are my two big reasons for why I'd like to be involved.
Great. Kirk, do you have any other questions for the candidates?
No, but thank you very much for your answers.
Kirk, can I just ask you to speak up? Because Scott's asked me to ask you to speak up.
Yeah, I don't have any further questions, but thank you for your answers. Is that better, Scott? Thumbs up?
Thumbs up.
All right, great.
All right, Carol, go ahead.
We all, first to Anne-Marie, we know that the school district has lots of boards within the school committee, and one of the things that we've been told by members of the school committee is that it's a lot of work and that there's a lot of commitment. Where do you fall with that? Are you able to give a lot of commitment to this position? Because, like I say, it's no good as having a member there if they can't attend the meetings and put our views forward. So,
Absolutely, yep. And that's why it's so nice to be newly retired. I stopped working like mid-November, then we went into the holiday season, and now, the tree is gonna come down, I swear. People driving by my house next weekend, so that's done. And I really don't have other obligations, but I've got these experiences that I would love to be able to share. So really, that's great for me because I've got all the time in the world to devote to it. I know it takes a lot of time because I've watched school committees and school committee members, over the years in my work, and I know that it's an awful lot, and it can be consuming, especially, like Jeremy said, budget season. But yes, I'm more than willing and able to devote the time that it's going to take.
great, thank you. And Jeremy, because I know that you have pulled in
Yeah.
other places, you do things elsewhere.
The same pretty much on my end. The one thing that the school committee seems to have done pretty well is they pretty much put everything at night. My issue isn't having the time available, it's just the timing of it. So everything after 6 o'clock, we're good to go with that. I mean, I have the available time as long as it's scheduled rise, and I think that that's something that the school committee realizes that, most of their committee members work, they're not part of the school, so they don't work school jobs, they have, what I'll call private careers, and I don't have any issues with making time.
you.
Do you have anything else?
I don't think so.
So the question that I have is what part of your background do you find or do you think is going to assist you the best with filling this role? I know, I can make some guesses. I know, Jeremy, you've got the finance background, being on the finance committee, and frankly, when I saw your application come in, I said, awesome. And then I saw Anne Marie's application come in, and I said, oh my God, this is going to be really hard, because Anne Marie's got a fantastic background as well. We know that, benefits and salaries make up 80% of the school budget. And Anne Marie's got a background in HR and union negotiations. So that certainly is a helpful aspect as well. So I'd like to hear from you what your thoughts are around what part of your background and experience makes you most qualified.
Sure. I think a lot of what I bring from my, my professional job, engineering background, I'm very data-driven. I don't, when you get into large committees, and especially committees for regional things like school districts, personalities tend to get in the way a lot. You have people that, some people mesh, some people don't. I try to look at tackling problems in this venue is just be data-driven and be open and honest and analyze the task in front of you and take it for face value. Emotionless. I'm not going to say emotionless, but don't let emotion get in the way. There's a lot of decisions to make on a committee like that. Like you said, you've got budgets, and you've got thousands of kids that are depending on your decisions to help them get to the next step in their life. So I think that follow the data. That's what I like to do.
Okay.
To me, I think the parts of my experience that would be most helpful is in my 21 years or whatever, every 3 years we've had negotiations with someone, so that, and I've been very much involved in the negotiating process, both in traditional bargaining and in the interest-based bargaining. And then when all is said and done, I'm the one who writes up the new contracts and make sure everybody agrees to what we have and do all that. Also, every year, I sit with our partners in the business office to talk about health insurance and health insurance rates, because that'll kill you too, as well as the salary increases. So we've meet with the provider and talk about that and see what we can do about that. And each year, of course, the budget process, it's a bear, and I've had experience doing that over that time. So I think that would be helpful for me too.
Great. I want to give I have another question, but I want to give the other select board members an opportunity in case they want to ask any follow-ups. Kirk, do you have anything?
No, I'm fine.
Carol?
I'm fine.
I don't think so.
Okay. So I'm sure you understand and you know that we are in some difficult times budgetarily in Paxton. This has been the case for some time now. Do you have any thoughts around how you would approach the school budget, knowing that Paxton has a difficult road ahead?
Boy, it's a balancing act, isn't it? Because everybody wants to have a wonderful school system, but then many of us have found that the money tree in the backyard has gone dormant on them, so that the money is hard to come by. I think my approach would be to make sure that the administration is able to back up with solid data, with solid facts, just like Jeremy said, everything that they're asking for, and things that will lead to increased student performance. And are we getting the bang for the buck, that we need? And can you show me where that's the case? Rather than just saying, well, we need more. And I'm not saying that that's what they've done, but there really needs to be an accountability and a reckoning of what they want, and then an explanation to the people. Why are we asking you for more money? Because people do need to dig deep, so that's a push me, pull you, that happens, I think, with every budget season. But I think if we have the accountability and the data, we'll be better off.
Thank you.
I agree. Like you said, with such a high percentage of the budget being for salaries, being for insurance and things like that, those are what I'll call untouchables because, you know, you have good talent, you want to retain that talent. You can't really, you know, shortchange your teachers. I think when it comes time to the budget, well, you know, similar to what we do in town, you've got to flip over every rock and you've got to look under every leaf and make sure that every penny is being collected from every due, every sports fee, you know, that the money is being managed as well as possible, that you're taking every, you know, it's no secret that the Wachusett, you know, system with money has seen some tough times over the last few years. You know, making sure that there's one person or a group of people who have their finger on the pulse of that checkbook, make sure that all the money that can be used is being used and being used wisely, right? Like you said, the biggest asset you have is your teachers. You need to pay their insurance. You know, the quality of the education is the teachers. That's what it comes down to. So focusing on that, knowing that that's something that you really don't want to take away from, and then see where the chips fall after that.
Great. Well, thank you. I have nothing further. Kirk, do you have anything further?
No, ma'am.
Carol, anything further?
No, I just think we've got 2 qualified candidates, so it's going to be a tough decision.
Yeah, yeah. I would like to take a brief moment to open it up in case there's any public questions that would like to be asked of the candidates. And if that's the case, then great. And otherwise, we'll work on putting this on the next agenda to make a decision. Are there any public questions? I have 2. Neil, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I guess, excuse me. The opportunity when Mr. Ottmer resigned was posted on the town website in December?
I don't know when it was posted.
December 9th.
Okay, so following, I guess, the procedure, I saw the agenda for the Select Board posted last week. And at that time, I only saw one candidate. And I'm just wondering if Mrs. Stoika, when she in fact made it known that she was interested in the position, Jeremy, I believe, had his name in almost from the beginning, once he heard that there was an opening. You said you were kind of enthusiastic about the possibility of him being on the committee, so that goes back, I think you mentioned that, 2 meetings ago, back probably to December 9th or thereabouts. So anyway, that was just the first question in terms of, I saw the meeting agenda posted last week, I only saw one candidate, then I saw an update with still only one candidate. And then this afternoon, I just checked before I got ready for the meeting to prepare, and I saw that there were 2 people. So if the applications were in fact filed or put in, to be considered, I just had a question as to when, that's all.
Okay, well, I'm sure you could get that information from the town hall as to when, actually, hold on, I might be able to give it to you. As to when the application was actually filed, but I don't believe it's going to end up being relevant, to be honest with you, because all we're going to do is we're going to just push it off so that there's more notice, so that everybody.
No, I understand that. I guess when we're looking for volunteers, I mean, everybody is aware of the policies or the procedures. Let's use it as procedures. And it gets posted on the website, and people look and review and decide to do something. But with the meeting agenda posted last week, 48 hours before, I'm going to use an expression you're probably not going to like, but I was wondering, instead of volunteering, if somebody was voluntold. Like, we need another candidate. We want people to consider this, get the word out to the public, and it came in maybe at the 11th hour today.
Anne Marie, how did you decide that you'd like to become involved?
Actually, when first Mr. Ottman left, it was out there, anybody interested, approach the, go to the town hall and approach. And I did. I waited some time, and I went to the town hall and I said, and this is again, like, I was still not quite retired. I was still in the middle of it, of leaving and finishing up some work. And I said, I don't want Paxton to be underrepresented on the school committee during budget season, which is when this chunk of time is. That just wouldn't be right. So I went and I said, has anyone else expressed interest? And they said, yes, Jeremy has. I said, oh, I know Jeremy because we've sat next to each other in the signing in table at more than a handful of town meetings, and I knew him to be a good guy and civic-minded. I said, oh, boom. So I said, good, we're covered. Away I went. Then as time went on, though, I said, and I started to get used to the retirement vibe. I said, I've got a lot that I've done, and to just like cut it off and throw it away after this much time, I think I really would enjoy being on the school committee, and I think it would be a good use of the skills that I have. So I went, I wasn't, sought out or anything. So I went and said, this morning, and I said, is it too late? Has the ship sailed? Because if it hasn't, I'd like to be considered.
Okay,
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
okay, go ahead, Mark.
Thank you, Julie, for letting this have some public comment. I'm not going to speak against any of the candidacies because it's obvious to everybody these are two very, very nice people and very professional people. But I am going to speak in favor of one, which is Jeremy's, and here's why. The Finance Committee bylaws actually allow this to happen. They were just amended under a year ago, which allows a Finance Committee member to serve on another committee with the Select Board's blessing. And only a month ago, we heralded the opportunity to have a Finance Committee member also serve on the Bay Path Voc School. In here, as you know, the school budget is made up from both Bay Path and Wachusett Regional. So it strikes me, we have an opportunity now to have the perfect opportunity to have Finance Committee members that are both on Bay Path School and Watch Regional School, so that we can be informed of things throughout the year, not just one time for a 30-minute session once a year. And we've already seen where when the Finance Committee meets on or serves on the DPW Building Committee, we get good information. When they serve on the Economic Development Committee, we get good information. I myself serve on the Wachusett Regional Audit Committee. And the Finance Committee got very good information that they otherwise would not have gotten. And the combination of the two schools make up half of our budget. And we have budget problems. So I just think that the channel of communication and feedback and information would be invaluable. And if it was okay for one, I think it's perfectly okay for the other. And I, in all due respect to Anne Marie, I strongly support Jeremy's candidacy for this school committee. And Anne Marie, when opening is available on Capital Improvement Planning Committee or Finance Committee, we hope you'll knock on our door. We'd welcome you in a minute.
Thank you.
Okay, well, great. Any other questions from anybody? Hearing none? All right, well, thank you both for coming in. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Jeremy?
And then we'll put that on the agenda for our next meeting. When's our next meeting?
Good, buddy?
The 21st. 21st?
That's next week, Tuesday.
27th. All right. So we'll plan for a decision on the 27th. Boy, that's a tough one. Not to offer too much here, but I don't think there's any way to go wrong, frankly, with that. And it's only a 5-month appointment, so, then it's an elected position, so. All right. Moving on, we need to discuss the annual town meeting, including the location, day of week, and date. So I'll open the floor to Heather to start us off.
Sure. So we started taking some harder looks at where we were going to do annual town meeting or some possibilities for the board to consider this year after our very well-attended special town meeting with a zoning topic. We know that MBTA is still in, as of this moment, with the Millbury case being settled now by the SJC, even more prominently likely to be front and center for our annual town meeting in May, which if we thought the other items drew a crowd, we anticipate that this might draw more of a crowd. for this meeting. That being said, we want to make sure that we're looking at all possible opportunities, including locations of where to host a larger group of people. Dawn has done a great deal of research, a great deal of reaching out to Anna Maria College to see what opportunities they could potentially provide us. Donna, can you just, you don't have a microphone, but can you just summarize real quick what you were able to glean from them on what their availability is and room size?
I absolutely can.
Thank you.
Give me a moment to find the sheet of paper. So I've been working with Ann over at Anna Maria and just throwing out dates and questions to her. So graduation first and foremost at Anna Maria is on May 12th. Mm-hmm. Scrap that. If we're looking for the first Monday, which we typically do, which would be the 5th, they have availability that evening. Not a problem.
Okay.
The other 2 Saturdays, staying with May, that they currently have open are the 17th and the 31st. There would be no charge to the town for the room. However, they would need to have their IT there, and they would have a fee for that, but that would really be the only charge that we would see for that.
Do we have an idea of what that fee might be?
That I don't. I would have to probably get with Nick and with them to see how much support they would need to know what the extent of the charge would be for that evening.
And this is Zeco, right?
Yes, yes,
Do we know what the capacity is for Zeco?
350.
So that is interesting. I thought that it held more.
Well, I do want to get back with Ann on that because I know just from being there before, I'm not positive 100% if that 350 is the fixed seats that are there, because I know they can bring in other chairs up along the side.
Okay.
So I do need to clarify that with her, if that 350 is the fixed seating that's there or if that's bringing in everything.
Yeah, because I think that the gym at PCS actually has a higher capacity listing. Was it 425, I think, in the gym?
Problem is, they don't have enough chairs.
Right, yeah.
But
do
not
we
enough
have
chairs.
Yeah.
Yes, because aren't we going to hope that this time everybody is seated?
We're gonna hope.
Well,
We're going to make sure we provide enough seats.
Thank you. It's just,
And then some for everybody to fit
Be
comfortably.
able to sit.
Yeah.
Yep,
I think that's very important that they're seated.
I understand.
Okay.
So, and then the reason we also had Donna take a look at the Saturdays is we get a lot of feedback from our older population that they would like an opportunity to participate that wasn't on a late evening. And 7 o'clock is late for some folks. I think regardless of what day it is, there's going to be pros and cons to it, but I think there's also the potential where if we're going to be talking about a budget at the same time as we're talking about MBTA, it's potential that it could be a more lengthy meeting than what we normally see.
Right, right.
So starting earlier or starting, when you talk about starting earlier, sometimes it's hard to get people home from work in time, but Saturdays are easier for folks to accommodate because you can do something earlier in the day, and then if it runs longer, you're okay.
Right.
May I also?
The
just-
concern that I'm sorry,
No,
the concern that I have
Sports,
with Saturday is sports.
sports, definitely.
Because I know my son's going to be playing baseball, not that it hinges on me, but as an example of other parents, Saturdays tend to be pretty heavy with baseball
And
So-
soccer, spring soccer.
and soccer, and we have a lot of families that play soccer. So I think it is a give and take on the day, unfortunately. That's a tough one. Any input from the select board?
That's my only concern, it always has been, that sports would take people away from attending on Saturday.
Right.
Unless it was early evening, I think. Because most sports are finished around about 5, 6. But that's the only thing I
Yeah.
can think of. Other than that, I think it'd be okay. And in May, it's light anyway, so
Right.
seniors don't tend to have a problem coming out in May
Right.
time.
Yeah, then you run into the potential driving at night issue. During COVID, we had 2 town meetings on Saturdays, right?
Yeah.
And that worked well, because we had to hold them outside. I think it actually worked out Donna will kill me for saying this. I think it worked out great.
Oh, good, I like
There was a
that.
lot of
Yeah.
effort that went into that.
Enjoyed this.
I thought it was wonderful,
I
but,
did.
yeah.
People had nothing else to do.
But there weren't
I did-
sports.
Exactly, that was
That's the thing.
different.
You know, yeah,
Different.
sports weren't interfering at that point because a lot of sports weren't happening. All right. Kirk, any thoughts?
I don't have any thoughts other than just a venue, but the chairs would be an issue, but it seems to me like, is that gonna be a large enough venue? Given the last outcome, if we're having
Yeah.
essentially two meetings at the same time.
Yeah, we had, what was the total attendance at that last meeting?
323.
323? For some reason, I thought it was higher than that. But, yeah, I mean, that's,
Well, that's 323 residents. That's not including those of us who are non-residents who are
Gotcha.
present. So once
'Cause
you add those, you're
Right.
I
close to
remember
like
thinking the
340.
count was more like 360.
Well, the space on the building and the
total
cafe
space.
was 335 or 345, so it couldn't have
340,
exceeded.
oh, it couldn't have been 360.
Couldn't have exceeded
We
that,
didn't
that's right.
reach the threshold limit. But,
I mean, we can look at the gym. The downside, like I said, is they were short on chairs just for
yeah,
the population we had. So,
Right.
you know, we'd have to plan ahead and probably look at renting or bringing in chairs in some way.
use the
We-
bleachers. All right, so, you know, I think there's more research that we need to do. We need to know the IT fee for Anna Maria. We need to know what the true room capacity is at Zeco. And/or do they have, like, could we use their gym? You know, is there an alternative over there that has a larger capacity? We want to make sure that there is a seat for every individual.
Do you have a
Figure out the
podium?
cost of what that might be, if we end up having to rent seats.
Julie, if you go to the gym, do we run into a problem with a podium in terms of being elevated to speak to the public versus being ground level? That's the one thing that the cafeteria at the school offers, at least you're up and recognized,
Right,
so.
yep, yep.
Well, I mean, there's a cost involved, but there's risers that you can rent. We do it for the summer jam every year. That could definitely help with the audio, as in every year since I can remember, to make that a little more audible for all that are there. That's where Anna Maria is kind of a benefit. I'm just concerned that we're gonna run out of capacity and we're gonna be up against another question mark, you know?
Yeah. The other thing that Anna Maria offers is ample parking. And, you know, on location, as opposed to, people having to park at the town hall and walk over and whatnot, because that was an issue.
I mean, the only other venue I can think of that's big enough would be the soccer zone. But with chairs and everything else, that just doesn't seem like a very viable option, even if they donated the space.
Yeah. I'm not, yeah.
There's
I
not
think
enough
there's
parking.
definitely a chair issue there.
But there's
Jeremy,
not
and there's not enough parking, that's true too. Jeremy just raised an interesting thought, too, is Wachusett Regional High School.
I don't know if we can do that. I brought that idea up to Brian at the last meeting, legal
Yeah.
counsel, and he made some comment
'Cause
about
it's not
not
in
being
town.
able to go outside of town.
Yeah,
Like, I think you can, but I think it gets messy.
yeah, okay.
That being said, we can look into it. I don't know.
No, you
I
won't
mean,
have
they
people
definitely would
travel.
have capacity.
Yeah, and then you're requiring.
People won't
Yeah.
travel.
Yeah, that's a problem. Okay. All right, so, I think Anna Maria is probably our best spot. It's just a matter of where at Anna Maria. And, what's going to be the best, we'll have to weigh out, the gym versus, or if they even can offer the gym to us, I don't know, in May, they may not even be able to, versus Zeco. And if we think that's going to have enough capacity, if we can bring in more chairs and increase the capacity of the room, then great, but we don't want to anger any fire chiefs.
When's the last day of college?
15?
Uh,
Is graduation.
The graduation is the 12th, so
Yeah,
it's,
because I'm thinking that the parking lot will probably be full if,
Well, that's part of the concern too, right? Are they still in session on the 5th? So that may push us to one of the Saturdays, if that's the case.
If I may add some insight, please. The 17th would be a great day, and for me, I am going to be out of the country for the previous 3 weeks.
Oh, the previous 3 weeks.
3 weeks. So, and I know, as happy as I was at the last meeting, I am not deterred from speaking at the next one.
Wow.
But I would need to be available, and at that point, I'm not. So if that has any
Yep,
guidance or choice in the dates,
yep.
that would be very helpful for me,
Okay.
okay?
Where are you going for 3 weeks?
We're going to Italy.
Oh, good for you. That's a beautiful vacation. 3 weeks.
This is a special one,
All right.
now that everybody knows that. We have someone staying in the house. The police chief with guns.
That's right, yes. And there's cameras everywhere. Yep. All right. So a lot of things to consider. I'm glad we had this discussion. Obviously, we can't make that decision tonight. We'll need some additional information, but at least we've narrowed down what that additional information is, and then we will put it on a future agenda. Sound good? Sound good.
Works for me.
All right. I have no correspondence. So next up is the town administrator's report.
I just have a brief verbal report this week. Couple updates, changes of staff, so let everyone know. So Tiffany Sidholm is currently staying on as the Administrative Services Manager for the DPW. So if you see Tiffany around, she's still with us on DPW. We did make a hire, Brooke Maliff. I'll probably get it right, and if I don't, she'll remind me that I pronounced it wrong. She's lovely. She just started, today was her first day as the permitting, what do we call it? Permitting Community Development Coordinator. Coordinator, I like that, Jeremy. It's probably easier. We were trying to do her signature line earlier. She's like, what's my title? Yes. So she just started today. We'll get her rolling. We should have her start with some open door hours starting next week. So for the public, if you guys watch out for that, we should start making some changes there, and you'll start hearing her answer the phone over the next few weeks. We're going to roll her into it slowly. She has meetings set up with a lot of the different board chairs that she reports with, and other folks that she'll be interacting with on a regular basis. We did get notice, I think it was the end of last week, Kateri Clute is stepping down as the principal assessor. She'll be staying on the Board of Assessors. The board is currently figuring out if they will be posting the position as principal assessor as is, if they'll be making any modifications, if they'll be working with some outside firms or whatever that may be. That's as much information as I have as of 4 o'clock today.
Yeah.
So as I know more, I will bring that back.
And just for clarity purposes, the Board of Assessors are responsible for making this appointment, correct?
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. That's all I have on staffing. Any questions on that? I don't think I'm missing anything, but it's only Monday.
Nope. I have no question.
Special act, so I did send out to the board today. The special act was signed by the governor on Friday. What that means, for those who are listening at home, is that for the caucus and for the upcoming town election, there'll be 3 seats to be filled. There'll be the current seat, which Carol sits in as the incumbent. That's a 3-year seat. There'll be a seat for a 2-year spot and a seat for a 1-year spot. So the first year when a town does this, it's always the hardest because you have to be specific which seat you're running for. It's not just everyone puts their name in and the top 3 people get it. It's you have to run, you have to commit when you're running. I want to commit and I run for the 3-year seat. I want to run for the 1-year seat. I want to run for the 2-year seat. When we get to next year and the year after, it's easy because whatever seats are available, 1 seat, 2 seat, everyone, you can have 20 people running and
Your third.
top two getters get
Right.
those seats.
And they're always 3-year terms after.
And they're always 3-year terms, but the first year it's staggered. So it's a little bit harder. Mark?
Heather, can you explain what the special act is? Because not everybody may know exactly what you're referring to.
Absolutely. So the town currently has an acting charter under the Special Acts of 2013. At the special town meeting, there was a citizens petition that was brought on, when was that, November 18th, by a number of citizens, and the petition passed the special town meeting, meaning it had enough votes to move forward. That petition lobbied the select board to petition to the legislature to modify the existing special act from 2013. The modifications were minor, in part and major in another part. The minor parts were, changing words from selectmen to select board. And then the major piece was changing the composition of the select board from a 3-member configuration to a 5-member configuration, effective at the town's next annual town election. So that modifies everything moving forward for town caucus in March, and then for the election in May, May 12th.
Believe so, yep.
Is the current date. Does that answer your question, Mark?
That was,
Yes, Kirk?
that was an amazing feat to be done in 40 days.
Yeah, I've never seen the legislature do anything so fast.
But we've been in this town for a very long time, and I'm so happy, and I'm so appreciative of Roberta for putting in that deep effort to make that happen.
Well, I think, a lot of kudos goes to Kim Ferguson's team as well, because they follow something through from the beginning to the end. That was the end of the legislative session, and they got that on the governor's desk December 31st, I think.
Yeah.
Or no, I think they passed it in the Senate, because Lizzie was sending updates, passed in the Senate December 31st, laid on the governor's desk on the 1st. So, but yes. Okay. That's the special act. So again, if anyone is interested in those positions, please start thinking about them now. Contact the town, my office, Donna's office, other select board members. Start getting some information and thinking about it, because people who are serious about this, you're going to have to commit to which term you're running for, whether it's the 1, the 2, or the 3-year term. You can't, Lori can attest, but I don't think you can run for all 3. I think you have to pick which seat you want to go for. And then however many people go for that seat, that's how many people are going, whether it's competition or not. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Any questions on the special act or the election so far? Okay. So I do have the dates real quick. I promised I would read a couple of them in if I can find them. Let's see. Or maybe not. That's also possible. Nope, 2 for 2, no go. I will find it in a minute, though. So do keep in mind, note on the website, and Lori will send something out, and we'll make sure we get something in the next couple of reports, just reminding people of the dates of town caucus, nomination papers, and so forth. So there are 2 ways. I won't go over the dates because I know sometimes they get confusing. There are 2 ways to get on the ballot. One is to go to the town caucus, or even just be nominated at the town caucus and get enough votes and signatures for that. The second is to do nomination papers, which means you don't have to do the town caucus at all if you choose not to. You pull papers at the town clerk's office, and you have to get X number of signatures on those papers by certified registered voters in town by a certain date, and then get them turned back in and get them verified. So there are 2 ways. The majority of people, at least in Paxton, who have done it, is usually through the town caucus. I don't think we have many people who pull nomination papers. So, all right. And those dates, as approved earlier, are March 3rd for the town caucus at 7 p.m., and in the event of a snow date, it's March 6th. So anyone who's interested should think about those dates starting now, just so you have them there. Wasn't sure if I heard Lori in the background. All right, so that's that piece. The Charter Review Committee, they had their first meeting this evening at 5 o'clock. It was a very lovely meeting. We had 6 out of 7 in attendance. 1 was sick, so that was pretty good. The hardest part of the committee so far was trying to get everyone available on the same day and time. So I think they're a lovely group of people. They're very eager, very energetic. I think their current plan is to meet between every week and every other week for a while, just to get things up and rolling. I believe their intention is to check with the chiefs and then the select board about the potential of using this room on evenings prior to the select board's meeting, so that they already have the cable access available to broadcast things, and plus have the technology to share the information and so forth.
Yep.
So I believe that will be coming for next meeting's agenda request.
Okay.
After it goes through the chiefs and make sure that's okay with them and doesn't interfere with
Yep.
Capital Improvement Committee, they met last Thursday, just to get everything kicked off and get everyone started. They'll be meeting, they added an additional meeting to their schedule, which I still need to get posted on the web, which is going to include this week on Thursday, the 16th. So I believe this week they'll be meeting with the school, the chiefs, both chiefs, thank you, Mark. Police and fire, and then next week is DPW and the school.
Okay.
So,
When you say the school, can we be more specific?
yes, representatives from the school. I don't know who. We invited Mark Wild, who's the, what is he, facilities director? We invited the superintendent, and then reached out to Randy to also make sure she invited the school committee members who were on the facilities committee
Okay.
and capital. So I don't know who's coming.
Okay.
Some representative who is going to understand the projects they submitted
Okay.
should be appearing before capital
All right.
next week. Yes.
And the projects, understanding we don't know what the projects are, I don't know what the projects are yet.
No, we do.
You know, I don't know. Are there any related to Paxton Center School, or is it all district-related?
Nope. Most of them are related to Paxton Center School. I believe all of them are.
Oh, good.
They range from the divide of the school and the COA building
Yeah.
to replacement of their public announcement system clock, to changing, what were some of the other ones?
Thermostats?
Thermostat, no, that's the library
Oh,
HVAC.
I'm sorry.
The
Roof.
air conditioning unit, the
HVAC,
boiler, and remember, you asked the question, the two separate projects, you said, what's that $20,000 piece? The boiler and the thing that goes along with the boiler.
Okay.
The thing, that's it.
This is
thing.
why the school has been invited to come speak about their project.
Very good. Yeah. Okay. I was just wondering if the current, I know she's just an interim, I don't want to say just, but she's an interim principal. Is she going to be coming to that meeting?
I don't know. Like I said, I did send the invite out to Randy. I believe I have a meeting at the district office tomorrow for our monthly TA meeting, so I'll check in and see who they plan on sending.
Okay. Yeah, I would want somebody from, that actually is at the school dealing with the issues. You know, I know Mark Wild deals with many of the issues, but he's not in that school every day. Okay.
No, that's correct, but I think part of the issue, some of these were major projects, like the roof. I mean, that
Yeah.
was $1.1 million.
Not for a few years.
Right, I mean, but it's there for discussion. And then the other thing that we discussed last Thursday was, according to the agreement in place with the 5 towns, there is a threshold that anything under that gets handled by the town. Anything over that goes before the school committee or the Wachusett region to then come back to the towns. And one of my concerns was, I still feel to this day that threshold is way too low, because when the agreement was written 4, 5, 6 years ago, we've never taken into account an escalator for inflation. And I believe, Heather, you would explain, it's somewhere around $30,000. Anything above.
35.
All right, anything below 35 comes back to the town. Anything above that, or is it the other way around?
The other way around.
The school covers anything up to 35. After that, it comes back to the
Right.
town. So as I said, 35, you can't do any, you can't write a request for $35,000. So when the next agreement comes up, I would hope that we would look closer at escalators. That's
Yes, I'm sure we need to look at that every time the regional agreement. comes
right.
up every
All 5
years.
towns should be thinking that way.
So, you know, it's definitely something that warrants consideration, but the last time we renewed the regional agreement,
There's a lot of
increased it.
discussion.
There was a ton of discussion around that. We increased it $10,000 at that point from 25 to 35. So it has been escalated, but because it's a every 5-year thing, I'm sure every time we look at that agreement, it probably needs to go up, especially
Well, either that or just
with
put in
inflation.
an inflation clause for every year. Just since COVID, I mean, the cost of materials has gone out of sight.
That was definitely something that was discussed, having
Yeah, okay.
a clause. Yep. Okay, I don't want to get too far off track here. Okay, so that was capital. Sorry, go ahead, continue.
And then the only other piece I have is the Economic Development Committee is meeting on Thursday, I believe at 5 PM,
Okay,
this upcoming Thursday.
on Thursday at 5 PM. Economic Development, where are they meeting?
I believe it's going to be at the COA. I don't think it's going to be a hybrid, but I did not, I think the agenda is going to be posted if it has not yet.
Okay, great. All right, so that was the town administrator's report. Any questions for Heather? Hearing none?
No.
All right, we have a public comment section. Any public comment? So Mark beat you to the buzzer.
That's fine, let him go, let him go first. Let him
Go
go
ahead, Mark.
first.
I actually have three, if you'll allow it, and I'll try to be brief. One of them is on our agenda this evening, under executive session. We have a session regarding 10 West Market Store. And having said that, I'm sure there's not a lot that you can say because it's scheduled for executive session, but I would point out, which I'm not suggesting that the board is not hearing it as well, but the rumor mill is on overdrive regarding that particular business and facility. And at a recent meeting, Ms. Bryan made reference of, we need at some particular point to get that issue in front of the public and out of executive session. And I'm just sitting here this evening to say that again and again and again before the rumor mill just runs wild in terms of what they're speculating it is or feeling that it is or sharing the rumor that it is or isn't. So I just think that a full disclosure needs to be made. I know there's legality. I think you've cited Mass General Law this evening. I've actually gone to the Mass General Law, and the quote of the law is exactly as it's quoted on the agenda, so we don't have argument with that. But just to encourage you to make it public as soon as you possibly can.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
So the other is, earlier this evening, you voted under consent items for the minutes of December 9th and December 13th, and perhaps it's none of my business, but I'll ask anyways. What's the process that the minutes go through before they come to the select board for approval? For instance, I serve on a number of committees where they're in draft form only. Corrections are made, adjustments are made, changes are made, and then it's approved. This evening, for example, don't want to go to any other evenings, but this evening's, they were just presented to you and they were approved. So the reason that I ask is that I was at both of those meetings. And in my estimation, what's reflected in the minutes is not nearly what occurred at each of those particular meetings. And just to cite an issue, because I don't want this to be about me, but I want to identify specifically what I'm speaking about. On December 9th, I spoke twice on two separate issues under public session, important issues. One of them was the citizens petition, and the other was the behavior at the special town meeting. There's no mention whatsoever in that at all. Now, whether or not someone may not have liked what I said doesn't replace the fact that it was said. And I think it should be reflected in the minutes if they're going to be the official record of the meeting. I don't think the recording of it is the official record. I think the minutes are. Secondly, on December 13th, when we had the tax classification meeting, I spoke a number of times throughout the meeting, including making a very strong recommendation at the end of the meeting. There's no reference to that whatsoever. And I think that those omissions are important and that they shouldn't occur. I would submit to you that the December 9th meeting, to my recent review of that, has been reviewed by over 200 people. I would bet that those 200 people seeing that meeting and comparing it to the minutes would not see a reconciliation at all. And I know you can't reiterate every single thing that has been said. That would be impractical, improbable. But you shouldn't eliminate what something has been said, even if it's in a condensed form. And the other thing, as a footnote there, the reason I know I got the minutes, printed them out on today's meeting minutes materials, and they're posted under a January 25th, 2025 meeting. Today's the 13th. They were not posted properly, so somebody looking for them may not have found them. I found them, others found them, they read it, texts and emails back and forth. I just think that they should be more inclusive, and I use those as two examples. Don't think they need to be corrected tonight. Not looking to go through the minutes this evening, but just want to go on record as saying, I think when somebody speaks, reference should be made, even if in an abbreviated, condensed way, of what it is that they said. And piggyback to that, on December 13th meeting, at the end of that meeting, which I don't need to remind anybody, was held by Zoom only at 10 o'clock on a Friday morning. The message that was made is that that's inexcusable, that's when a hearing of that particular nature would be held under that particular venue. In word was mentioned that evening that the state took a week to get the material back to us. Well, the footnote to that is, well, send it to them a week earlier, number one. And number two, in the landmark, it was documented that the town of Rutland had the same problem with some delay, and they managed to have their tax classification on Monday, December 16th at 7 p.m. All the more reason that our having ours on Friday morning at 10 a.m. on a workday, weekday, was not an appropriate venue. And said that at the meeting, but there's no record of it having been said. And the recording of it was delayed for whatever reason, because it was a special recording and it's not shown the same way that the live recordings this evening will be recorded and posted. And people are bothered by that. And I just think that the Select Board can do better, and I'm just being the messenger, and I was one that was affected by that. So those are my 3 points.
Thank you, Mark.
I think the assessor addressed that at the meeting, the reason for the delays.
I'm sorry, Carol?
I believe the assessor addressed the reason for the delays at the meeting.
Yeah, she did address it. She said that the state delayed it by a week, but
So,
my point is,
that's it.
send it to them a week earlier. That's
Maybe
pretty
we weren't ready.
important information, and we also said that people should know not just what the rate is, what's the average tax bill, what's the average assessment, what's the average increase from one year to the next. None of that was forthcoming, and I think it was dismissed that this is a formality meeting. It's not at all. I think the decision whether or not there's a single rate or a dual rate is a formality, but I would argue that people who are getting their tax bills and want to know what they are, they hardly think it is a formality. We should do it in the open. We should do it at a evening meeting for the public, to be recorded, to attend. I didn't think we put our best foot forward last year or last month.
Unfortunately, that was the only time that we could make work once that information was available and the town had everything that was necessary in order to be able to go forward with the hearing. I think I said at the beginning of the meeting that it wasn't ideal, and it certainly is not ideal. I would much rather it be held at a different date and time, as you say. But we were between a rock and a hard place for this particular meeting. It had to happen, and that was the time that was available, unfortunately.
So was it, when you said it was the best time, was there a conflict of the Select Board to meet Monday on the 16th?
I don't remember what the conflicts were at the time.
But
It was
it's too
just the
late
only
by
time
then.
that was available. The Monday following was too late because we had a time limit
Constraint.
in order to get the tax
Get
bills
the
out before the
tax bills
31st.
out.
So,
Yeah.
so forgive me for begging the question, but if it was too late for us, why wasn't it not too late for the town of Rutland?
I don't know
idea.
what Rutland uses for their software, but we use Vision and Vadar, and in order to get things scheduled and to get everything to walk over, as well as to have an opportunity to fix any errors, we needed enough flex time to be able to do so. We most certainly could have done it the 16th, but we ended up coming out this with about 12 hours to spare. and had no problems. If we had even one problem, we would have had a major problem. So we were already very tight. That being said, I think it's, as Julia said, I think it's well noted. We'll strive to do better next year. We'll work harder and we'll work on getting our calendar. Maybe we'll try to do a target date calendar like we did this year for the budget when we're doing the tax recap. And then everyone has all the same information at the same time and we can make modifications as things adjust.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
Good?
All right.
Yeah.
Neil, go ahead.
Okay. A couple things, and if you'll just bear with me. First off, I would like to personally thank and commend Roberta Bryan for the work that she did in getting the citizens petition written, circulated, signatures gathered, attested to by the town clerk, everything for the special town meeting, and then most of all, or most importantly, getting it handled in an expeditious fashion through the state legislature. I know as we came and talked with you folks, again, I was on part of that team that worked that way, but we were told it could take 16 to 18 months. And if you go back through minutes of meetings, the process, you were made aware August 19th at a selectmen's meeting that she was going to be working toward that end, and there was no objection, please go ahead and do it.
Yep.
It was done with the premise of making less work for everybody on your board. From 3, it's going to hopefully go to 5, so you'll spread things around. And then even the night that she came and talked following the meeting, we were told, because that, I believe, was December 9th, or when did we form the committee, the review committee? Heather, what, was that the 13th or the 9th? All right, anyway, but the committee was formed, and at that point, she said it had gone to Boston with the help of our state representatives, Kim Ferguson and Peter Durant, or what, yes.
Yep.
Thank you. Anyway, but they worked countless favors to get this thing through. It just was resounding how quick it happened, and it's basically done, and it's going to become, well, it's a law now. As of last Friday, at 5 o'clock, it had been signed, and we're ready to go. To follow up on that, I think the town has a debt or some sort of public gratification to make to our representatives, because that could not have happened without them. I mean, being told that in the past it took 16 to 18 months, and this was filed on November 20th,
Yep.
and here it is, December 31st, it's done. So whatever we need to do to notify those representatives, again, Kim Ferguson and Senator Durant, we should do that, whether it be through commendation, whether the town has something that we can say, hey, thank you very much for your help, we really appreciate this, but something to that level needs to be handled. And I would appreciate however you're going to look at doing that and getting them known, whether we do it as a public meeting, that maybe they come to a selectmen's meeting, we say thank you very much, and, get an applaud and all that kind of stuff, but it was remarkable how fast that thing happened.
It was remarkable. I had followed up with Lizzie over at Kim's office.
Yep.
And she told me that she is now 2 years still waiting for the same thing to happen for the city of Gardner. So for it to happen in such a short period of time for Paxton is pretty amazing.
It is, and the residents should be, grateful for that too,
Yeah.
realizing that it did happen in such an expeditious fashion. So along with that, so again, we've thanked Roberta, we're going to thank our representatives. Everybody did a outstanding job in trying to get this done. I have a couple of questions to follow up with Heather. She and I have spoken. I also talked with the building inspector about the sign at the dentist's office,
Can we not
meaning
talk
that it's
about
out of compliance with current zoning rules.
So,
Not on the agenda. Can we not talk about it?
yeah, well, I mean, you can make a comment, Neil. but
It's just a comment.
it's
I'm just
not
trying to
anything that
figure.
we can discuss.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine, but I'm just saying it's a comment. I need people to understand this, that it is not a compliant structure. Somehow or other, there was an error. Dave Carl admitted that it was misinterpretation of things that were going, but it's got nothing to do with what we tried to change at the special town meeting. This is working with the existing zoning bylaws for signs and whatever. And my only concern when I spoke with Heather was, I feel time is of the essence, because the longer it stays there as a non-conforming sign, somebody may say, well, it's been there for 60 days, or it's been there for 90 days, or whatever. I would hope that things would be addressed in a timely fashion, and they would be notified, whether they do anything, but at least get a notification to them that it's not compliant. Okay? The last thing I have is, due to a conflict in scheduling, Roberta Bryant could not be here tonight, but she sent me a statement that I handed to both of you. I gave, there's 2 copies there, one for each of you. I gave Donna one and Heather one. So I'm just going to read this. It's a statement that she would like in the record or in the minutes or whatever. And I'll try to do it justice, but Roberta is writing to clarify the meeting minutes listed as December 9th, 2024. On page 10 of the minutes, it states that Robert Bryant suggested that, in quotes, "we need to address fully what is happening with 10 West," close quote. Beyond the typo with the name from Robert to Roberta, I believe I requested a full reporting by the board to the town of what happened at 10 West. And I realize you're going to have discussions tonight, that's fine. This remains my request, that before any further decisions are made about the real estate, that the residents receive a full reporting of what happened to cause the tenant to vacate, whether it was septic, electric, parking, size of building and lot, costs, repairs, permits, etc. My statement included that transparency would answer many questions and rumors that are lingering that do not paint the town in a good light. This is an opportunity to set the record straight and, in addition, address any issues that exist on the property and in the building, whether through disclosures, use restrictions, modifications, repairs, etc. It seems out of order to begin discussing values without a full accounting of the existing conditions of the property and the prior tenant's concerns. So I just wanted that read in. That's how she felt about that. I know she mentioned it at that meeting on the 9th, and we just don't want to let it kind of be forgotten. The town needs to, the residents need to have an understanding as to what took place, or what happened, why they left. So I don't care, I shouldn't say, I'm not concerned unless you would like to make any comments. She's not here, so I really can't discuss or debate with you in any way or engage you in a dialogue, because that's her issue right now.
Yeah, and a public discussion of 10 West is not on our agenda, so I'm not
Okay.
able to engage
Okay.
in it either.
All right.
Okay.
Would you recommend that she ask again, we're in public comment, so she's asking that this, we did it last time on the 9th in public, and she's doing it again tonight.
Yep.
Give me some guidance.
I can't tell you anything or give you any guidance right now. I honestly don't know what the direction will be, or what we're even going to discuss tonight
Okay.
in terms of that property. And so I have essentially no information to be able to work from.
Publicly, understood.
Yeah.
All right, but when this is done, I'm assuming there will be a clarification for the residents?
The problem I see with that, Neil, and I don't want to discuss this too much because, again, it is not on the agenda for tonight. The problem I see with it is that it's a two-sided story, right? Every occurrence has more than one side to it. The town can certainly present what they believe the issues are, but without the other side also presenting what they believe the issues are, it's still a one-sided situation. And I'm not sure that the town, depending on the legalities of it all, I'm not sure that's something that the town can even engage in. So that's all.
Engage publicly.
Right, exactly.
It's
So that's
between the
all-
town and the tenant.
Right. So this is,
At
this is,
juncture.
at this point in time, exactly, yeah.
I didn't hear
So
what
Kirk
you
said at this juncture.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and I would agree with Kirk's addition. So, we need to have a discussion about that. I frankly don't even know where we're going. So I don't know if there's been contact from the tenant, former tenant, whatever you want to call, the, current tenant. I don't know if there's been contact in terms of what they want to do. So I honestly have absolutely no information to be able to give to you at this point. But where there are certain legalities involved, I don't believe that the town is at liberty to discuss this publicly.
Okay, but you mentioned there are two sides to the coin.
Yep,
Okay, the town side and the tenant side.
Yep.
But in that malaise of issues, some of them are very black and white, I'm assuming. They're not subject to interpretation.
that may be.
Okay.
I have no idea where we're going with this.
Neither do I.
I'm sorry?
I said I have no idea where we're going with this. It's nothing we can do at this stage.
That's it.
The other party isn't here.
Right.
We can't talk about it when they're not here.
Yep.
So will there be a time when they will be invited to come to,
I
it'll
don't
be an
know.
agenda item and then
I couldn't tell you, Neil, at this point. I do not know.
because?
There are legal
Neil,
implications, that's why.
You've had tenants before, Neil. You can't talk to other tenants about other tenants without them present as a landlord, and that's kind of the position that we're in this situation. So let us get through the information and sort it all out. And
Okay.
We'll be as transparent as we can. I
Right.
don't know what to tell you.
Yep.
Okay, but I'm assuming we're not going to get into the point of an NDA. I mean, whatever happened, non-disclosure agreement?
I know what an NDA is.
No, but I'm just
I
saying
don't
it in
think
terms of
that's
if
at all
if
relevant.
it's that private, I mean, you
Oh my
have.
goodness, can we move on?
We don't know.
Can we just get to his executive?
I'm concerned, I mean, like Mark said, there are rumors running around town.
There
that-
are, but there is nothing we can do about that right now.
Don't listen to him. Simple.
Don't
There's
listen.
rumors about a strip club if the zoning bylaws passed, and that would never happen.
Rumors
I
are
know,
just that.
darn it.
Rumors are just that. They're
What a moneymaker that would have been.
Yep. I mean, what people choose to
Talk about.
discuss and talk about in the rumor mill is up to them. I can't control the rumor mill. And unfortunately, there are some things that we discuss on the select board that can't be discussed publicly. That is just the nature of the business. So it is what it is. When more information can be released, we will. But at this point in time, that's not a possibility.
Okay.
I just want to make it clear that there's nobody on this board that's hiding any information
No, I'm not suggesting
at
that.
all. Or that we know much more than you guys do. We're just trying to get to the bottom of the situation. So let us do our job, please.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, that's fine. That was not my intent. I'm not declaring that somebody's hiding, that's the furthest from my statement tonight and Roberta's statement, that's all. We're just looking for, at some point, I say we, she is looking for a complete disclosure to the residents of the town as to what happened.
Yep.
They were a tremendous business partner in town. All the good things that they did, and we've lost that. That has gone now to Holden. So, all right, thank you, I'm done. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Hearing one? You just identify yourself and. Yes.
Sorry, I didn't catch your name and your address.
Joe Ford,
Joe
14
Ford.
Borton Way.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
I just want to talk about some things that were brought up at the last meeting. I think were unfair criticism to the police department and their lack of response to some of the behavior that was going on. It's not the job of the police department to arbitrarily interject themselves when that behavior occurs. And I'm sure the town administrator might have something to add. It's the town moderator that runs the meeting, and when that behavior happens, there's certain things that have to happen before the police get involved. One of the things is that they have to tell the person that his behavior is not right. They have to tell him to quiet down, and at some point, the police have to be asked to get involved. That didn't happen. The town moderator handled it, and the vote ended up going through anyways, and everything appeared afterwards. But it's not the police's job to arbitrarily decide when to involve themselves in that type of disruptive behavior. And for a town that doesn't have any money to pave a pothole, the last thing we want is a civil judgment against the town because they acted too soon and they violated someone's First Amendment rights or a right to assembly. There's guidelines set up at Secretary Galvin's website online, and there's even stuff exactly dealing with open laws, open meetings at the ACLU's website for anyone who wants to learn about. But I just think it was unfair criticism of the police And that's all I have with that there, so.
I,
Anyone wants to add anything, or?
I appreciate you saying that. What I saw from that meeting, and it's a long time ago now, but I didn't think the police were there initially. They came in afterwards. I don't think there was police present. We don't always have police present. They usually come because they attend in the meeting. But I have no criticism of the police. Absolutely.
No, I'm not saying it was
No.
any of the.
No, I know it
select board
wasn't,
members.
but
But there was someone that made an
Yeah.
issue that they thought that they maybe could have done something more. And it didn't rise to that level, it didn't get to that point, and so there was no need for it.
I agree. I think the moderator handled the meeting as well as he could under the circumstances. It was unexpected and it was provoked, but I think he did a great job. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Joe, I thank you. Honestly,
I think I think the criticism was misdirected, and if anything's going to be criticized, it's going to be, you have to look and see, well, what caused that poor behavior to begin with?
yep.
And people waited in line 2 hours. That line went out the door, down the length of the school to the playground. It was cold. People came in. They wanted to participate. They were very passionate about the way they were looking forward to provide their input and participate in that vote. And it wasn't until the planning board chair filed that motion to table that measure that the train came off the tracks. That's when it went haywire, and that's unfair. People wanted there to participate, they wanted to vote, and when they thought that voting process was being subverted, that democratic process, is when they became angry, and I don't blame them.
I appreciate that.
So I listened to last meeting, I heard someone refer to him as a victim, I heard a select board member apologize, and that's just delusional. It's unfair. And it could have been avoided, but it was 100% caused by the town.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Could I add one more thing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
The select board increased from 3 to 5. I was at the meeting when that was brought forward, and I spoke with many people in town, my friends and neighbors, about that, and I said, well, it could be a good thing and it could be a bad thing. You have to know what the motivation of us behind it. If it's because someone thinks that all the decisions in town are being made by one or two person, it could be a good thing. If it's because they're trying to put members on the select board that think like our town administrator and support her, and that you can cut 30% from a police department and that's okay, then that's a bad thing. But I was there, and I saw the 3 select boards' faces when that was brought forward. And I described it afterwards that you looked like a deer in the headlights, you were caught off guard, and at the same time, the town administrator was typing on her computer, never looked up, but then when you had asked, well, we don't know what the process is, she seemed to have some of the answers. So I'm asking you, the select board members right now, when did you find out about the petition in this interest from going from 3 to 5? Was it at that August 19th meeting, or did you hear from it before?
Kirk has been raising this issue for some time.
I'll speak to that.
Go ahead, Kirk. Yep.
This was one of the reasons I got on the board 3.5 years ago, whatever. When on a 3-person board, when you come on your first year and even into your second year, because of the ethics laws and open meeting laws and et cetera and so forth, a new person on the board has no mentor. So there's a problem right there, because I can't speak to Juliet about process and this or that or the other, or Carol. I can't call one of them and say, how does this work? Because the optics of that is that on a 3-person board, I could be soliciting their opinion or trying to influence their opinion on an issue, when in fact, I may just be trying to understand the process. And I saw that before I ran. That's one of the reasons I ran. That's one of the reasons I've been a huge proponent of it. I've heard all of the negatives, that you can't get enough people on the other boards as it is, and we're never gonna fill these board seats. I don't know if that's true or not, but I know a 3-person board to manage a town our size is a heavy lift, is a very heavy lift for working people who are just trying to help the town and do their part as transparently as absolutely possible. You know, everyone, it seems easy to point fingers, but I was probably 2 years onto this board before I really kind of had a grasp of a lot of things that it takes to manage a town. For instance, we divide up all the committees in town between the 3 of us, and we're supposed to attend a certain number of meetings and be involved with those boards and those committees and have an understanding of everything that's going on. That's not easy when you've got, 9 or 11 boards or committees that you are representative to. So going to a 5-person board, A, makes a lot of sense. B, you can have a mentor on the board because it would never be a conflict of interest if 2 or 5 people are talking. C, you can bounce ideas off people. You know, you have someone you can talk to and maybe gain more insight, gain more perspective, gain a deeper understanding of whatever that issue is. I'm not a professional in schools, I'm a professional in construction. I'm not a professional in firefighting, you know. So you need that ability to really run a town well, to have those resources, and basically learn the job, you know. So that's why I've always been a proponent. I think a 3-person board, additionally speaking, makes it easy for certain decisions to get through if there's an opposing opinion or an opposing idea. So I think it gives us a much pulse of what the community wants for our town if we have 5 people voting versus 3. And so that's my opinion.
Do you want to
Okay,
talk? Do you want to talk?
I don't remember what I was going to say.
Oh,
Can I just say,
okay.
when he mentioned optics, and I'm concerned about optics too. So maybe the question I should be asking is that, were the 3 select board members aware that town officials went to the town administrator with this in May?
No.
You didn't find out until the 19th?
So I don't think it was, I think it was further back than May.
'Cause that's what came out last meeting,
Yeah.
is that they went to the town administrator.
Yep, and we never knew
And the
about it.
rumor going around town is that the 3 select board members had no idea that what was going on, and you didn't find out, which goes along with my observations at the August 19th meeting. You guys look like a deer in the headlights. That's how I've been describing it. Okay? So as far as optics, do you have a problem with that?
Got no
I
choice.
believe I spoke right up at that meeting in favor of it.
No, I'm not saying whether you're in favorable, but do you have a problem with other town officials doing that? And then you're continuing working in some form of fashion together. Where's the transparency, the professional courtesy, the respect, the honesty? You were getting beaten up last meeting because you used terms lack of transparency in question, you know, lack of integrity. And I'm just amazed by the hypocrisy now that this happened. You guys were kept in the dark, but then all along, everyone was working, all happy.
Behind the scenes.
Like, that last meeting was very contentious. And I don't know how we're gonna solve anything going on in the spring. I was here in a meeting over in July, and we had this sometime over the summer, after the special town meeting in June. And we had this big kumbaya moment when the finance committee, someone spoke, how we gotta do a better job, and we gotta fix it, and we're gonna all be on the same page and do much better this spring. I don't see that happening. I don't. I think that, to me, it appears like you guys are being undermined, and that's the optics that I have. And I have a problem with that.
I'm really concerned for the future with 5 board members. I don't think personally this town needs 5 for a small town that we've got, but I'm not against it because the town wanted it. The town signed the petition, but initially I didn't think 5
Right.
members are necessary.
I
And
agree.
I'm
You
concerned
have-
about there being 2 new openings at once and possibly 3 new openings at once. That can turn a select board 360 degrees, and that worries me. But
Right.
that's what the town wants, so
What the town wants, like I said, you have to know the motivation behind it. This was presented to the town that it's just going to bring fresh ideas and more people and more input, and time will tell to see if it's really, truly to benefit the town in that fashion, or if the
Something
interests are
else.
more self-serving. We'll see. But I know there were people that spoke on behalf of that at the meeting. They pointed out that there are other towns in the Wachusett district that has 5 select board members, and that's misleading because they have higher populations. More population, higher representative in government. That was misleading. We had another person that get up to say, hey, look, we can't run because we're already board members. Well, they can resign from being board members and run for town select board. So that was misleading too. So I have no confidence that this is going to kind of pan out to what's being presented to us. But like I said, time will tell.
thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
But I am really concerned about what's coming up down the pipeline, and, but right now, it doesn't seem like the town leaders here are all on the same page to get this done. And I would, I'll just leave it at that. I'm just disappointed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Can I respond?
It's not, public comment for right now is, I don't want to continue discussing something that is not on the agenda. So we're going to leave it to Joe's comments, and I'm going to close public comment for now.
All right, I just would like to, I don't think that's fair, but I understand. And it's getting late, and you have a lot
We
of
have
items.
4 executive sessions to move into. Yeah.
Would you put an agenda item on the next meeting that we can continue the public comment?
There will be another public comment section at the next agenda, at the
Okay.
next meeting. Yeah.
All right.
All right. Thank you. So with that, I'm going to close the public comment session. We do need to move on with our meeting. We have 4 executive sessions to move into. I'm going to read them off. We have an executive session to discuss the police chief, his personnel contract pursuant to MGL Chapter 38, Section 21-2. We have an executive session to discuss the fire union pursuant to MGL Chapter 38, Section 21-3. To discuss the DPW union pursuant to MGL Chapter 38, Section 21-3, and to discuss the 10 West Market lease pursuant to MGL Chapter 38, Section 21-6. We do need to take a roll call vote in order to move into executive session, so I'm going to ask for a motion to close the public session and move into executive session, returning to public session only to adjourn the meeting. How do you, can somebody please make that motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second,
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, Kirk?
Aye.
Carol?
aye.
And I'll vote aye, and we will move into executive session.